In the 1950s, a German company began selling a drug called thalidomide all over Europe, a sleep aid that was also marketed for nausea during pregnancy. And pregnant women who took thalidomide started having babies with severe birth defects, most notably deformed flipper-like arms and legs. More than 10,000 children were born with severe disabilities caused by thalidomide, but fewer than 100 of those were born in the United States. And that's because an FDA reviewer kept the drug off the market over concerns about the shoddy data to support the drug's safety. Now, following that episode, public outrage led Congress to strengthen the FDA so that drug company profits would never be put ahead of the safety of our children. So I was surprised, Dr. Gottlieb, to read in a 2012 article that you asserted that the thalidomide episode had a harmful effect on the FDA. You said the incident, quote, fostered an idealization of FDA reviewers as, quote, championing an issue of safety against the prevailing orthodoxies, especially when it meant taking on corporate interests. You were critical. Dr. Gottlieb, do you think the FDA puts too high a priority on championing safety and protecting unborn babies and other consumers?
Absolutely not, Senator. And the thrust of that article was about a much different point. But I absolutely believe the FDA needs to be answering these questions in full. And in fact, the modern FDA does a very good job ferreting out risks of teratogenicity, preclinically actually, because of the modern tools that we use in the drug development process.
Well, I'm not quite sure then that I'm following, because you talk about, quote, in so heavily prioritizing the protection of consumers, the FDA has subordinated and neglected its obligation to guide new medical innovations to market. In other words, it sounds like to me you're saying in this piece that you think that the FDA places too much emphasis on consumer protection.
Senator, I remember the piece well, and the thrust of the piece was focused on my concern that the agency was losing confidence in physicians and felt that it needed to step into the regulation of the practice of medicine to try to supplant its judgment for the judgment of doctors in certain situations. And moreover, I was concerned that the agency didn't have the enforcement tools to follow up on what it was doing. And the one thing I learned when I was at FDA was you've got to be careful about imposing a requirement that you're not capable of enforcing. And that was the thrust of the article as I remember it.
Well, I have to say, that is not how I read the article, and I worry about your language. In it, you criticized FDA reviewers, saying that they, quote, believe it is appropriate to prioritize safety over speed. And I know there are always judgments to be made, but belittling reviewers who are concerned about safety makes me very uneasy. I want to get innovative products to market as fast as possible, and I support more resources for the FDA to be able to do that. I support better science for the FDA. I've written bills to do both of those, but your view of the FDA's response to the thalidomide problem is deeply disturbing, and it raises, for me, real questions about your commitment to the FDA's basic safety mission. As my colleagues have pointed out, you have spent your life entrenched in the companies that would benefit from looser regulations, but I think it raises the very real question of whether someone who seems to oppose the FDA's basic safety mission should be running the agency. And so I just have real concerns here. I also have concerns about off-label marketing. I see that I'm running out of time, and it's a long series of questions. So in deference to the chair, I will do those as questions for the record. But I just want to say the position of the head of the FDA is one in which all of America, indeed all of the world, places its trust. And for me, that means it's profoundly important that you be committed to safety and that you be committed to the role of the FDA, not the drug companies, not others outside who stand to profit, but to the FDA itself to watch out for that safety.
I agree, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.